Hello everyone, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be ranking 5 of the newest concealers that have hit the market. Now before I get into this ranking, I think it's important for me to say a couple of things. One, I personally only use concealers for my under eyes. So you have to think about that when I'm talking about each concealer, because a lot of times when I read reviews of a concealer, people don't really specify if they're using it for their face or if they're using it solely for their under eyes like I do. So there is definitely going to be a difference in how you feel about a concealer because a lot of us want different things from a face concealer than an under eye concealer. Now, in a perfect world, a concealer would work perfectly for both. However, I find that's not often the case. The second thing I want to make sure I put out there is that I have only used these concealers on myself. And most of us YouTubers, beauty content creators, we do mostly only test these products out on ourselves. So I think it's important for you to know that I have dry under eyes, but they are not severely dry. I have dark circles, but working as a makeup artist for 20 plus years, I have seen far worse. I'm 49 years old, so I do have mature skin. And as I've said before, I do not have any Botox. I haven't had any in several years. So I certainly think it would be unfair for me to sit here and say that a concealer doesn't settle into fine lines if I did have Botox and had no lines. So they might not be that visible to you on camera because of lighting, but in person, I do have some fine lines. And I do find that some concealers unfortunately end up in those creases right under here. That I think is a big problem for a lot of us, regardless of age. So those were just some things I wanted you to consider as you listen to this video, as you are seeing my ranking, so that you can hopefully determine the ranking that would be right for you based on your needs. Maybe you do have darker circles, maybe you do have more dryness. So I'm going to cover all of those things like coverage and hydration and longevity. So hopefully just by you having that information, it will help you decide which one you should purchase, if any. All right, let's get into it. I have been working on this video for the past week or so. I've been using one of the concealers every single day, taking notes as I used them. So while I am ranking these from 5 being my least favorite to 1 being my absolute favorite, none of these are truly bad concealers. I didn't use any of these and think, this is utter garbage, it's going in the trash, I'll never use it. I definitely think that aside from maybe number 5, I'm going to be reaching for 1 through 4 in my rotation very often, depending on my needs. So let's start with number 5. This is the only drugstore concealer I have in this video. And honestly, I actually had some high hopes for this CoverGirl Simply Ageless Triple Action Concealer. Because as most of you know, I have no bias when it comes to makeup. Over the years, I have found many drugstore products that I think are better than some high-end products. So just because something's at the drugstore, I don't think it's automatically going to be horrible. This concealer comes in 10 shades and retails for $17.49. Yes, you heard that right. A CoverGirl concealer for about $18. I just feel like drugstore prices are kind of getting out of hand. I never expected this concealer to be $18 or almost $18. So why did CoverGirl price this concealer at $18? It says that this concealer depuffs with a cooling ceramic wand, conceals with a lightweight medium to full coverage formula, and is infused with hyaluronic complex, vitamin C, and niacinamide, which are highly effective ingredients that do add to the price of a product. And those ingredients help to reduce the appearance of wrinkles and hydrates for a youthful look. Now, in the description of this product, it does say that it's medium to full coverage. I don't think it's medium to full coverage. I definitely think it's more light to medium. I do like the coverage, but I am not a fan of this cooling wand. I get where they were trying to go with this because it does feel slightly cooling under the eyes, and the purpose of that is to depuff the area. But if you are trying to actually deposit product in the area, I found it to be extremely difficult. I do not have time to sit there and go back in and keep adding just to get anything to appear on my eyes. And I'm going to kind of try to demonstrate this to you as if this were my under eye. Like, look how much product. Did anything even come out? obviously I'm not seeing what I'm doing, but like nothing comes out when you apply it with the cooling wand. So what I ended up doing was I just put it on the back of my hand like this, and then picked it up with my finger or a brush, and I just felt like I had to keep going back in and picking up product. And for almost $18 to have to keep going in and adding more product just to get the right amount that I need to conceal my dark circles, no, not a fan. However, once I got the concealer on, it did look good. It didn't crease. It lasted all day long. I did feel like it was hydrating, but I just cannot put that much effort into my concealer application. I'm just not going to do it. I do think some people will love this cooling applicator and others will be like me and think, no, it's kind of gimmicky, not worth it. I would have just preferred a regular doe foot applicator. Okay, coming in at number 4 is the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Light Smoothing Concealer. This one comes in 18 shades and retails for $26. I purchased this one because it was recommended to me by several of my viewers. And I really do like the original Too Faced Born This Way concealer. I think it is one of the best out there. This one, a lot of people seem to love, but it just didn't give me personally enough coverage. It claims to be medium to full, but again, I really don't feel that it is. Actually, I lied. I just looked and it does claim to just be a medium coverage. It says that it is a buttery, serum light, buildable concealer that effortlessly glides on skin to camouflage and cover imperfections for up to 24 hours. This one contains coconut water to replenish skin's moisture levels, alpine rose to help empower skin's health and resilience, and hyaluronic acid to give a smoother, more youthful appearance. This product is cruelty-free, as is the CoverGirl concealer. So this concealer also claims to be waterproof, humidity-proof, sweat-resistant, and as I said earlier, it's not a bad concealer. It's just that if you have really dark circles, this is not going to be the one you are going to want to choose. And this is where that whole, what are you using the concealer for specifically, that I spoke about at the beginning comes into play. When I was reading the reviews of this concealer, it seemed to me that a lot of people were using it as a face concealer. From the reviews I was reading, a lot of people seem to really like this one for light makeup days. And it sounds to me like they are using it in lieu of foundation. They're just applying it to red areas, adding maybe a little bit of powder, and they love it because it is lightweight, waterproof, humidity proof. But as far as the under eye area goes, it just wasn't cutting it for me. Even though, as I said, I don't have extremely dark circles, I do have quite a bit of discoloration by the side of my nose and right in through here, and I want that covered. So in my experience, I did not find this to have the level of coverage that I was looking for. Even if I did layer it, a second coat did not, well, it gave a little bit more coverage, but I would rather just get that coverage in one go. Now, that said, if you do not have extremely dark circles, but you do have an extremely dry under eye area, I think this one might be higher in the ranking for you, because a lot of times those with very dry under eyes are going to be more prone to creasing. And the more coverage a concealer has, unfortunately, the likelihood of creasing increases. The concealer that I have placed in the number 3 spot is one that, if you watch my videos regularly, may come as a surprise to you. Actually, it's going to come as a shock to you, most likely, because I'm fairly certain I had this concealer in a favorites and fails video maybe 2 months ago. So this concealer is a little bit older than I thought. I think it's been out for about 2 months because it wasn't my last month's favorite and fails, but I do think I had it in the month prior. Anyway, it was a fail. And then a lot of you told me in the comments to try it again, that I was wrong, that I didn't give it enough of a chance, that I should try applying it some other ways. And I did that because I listened to you guys. If you tell me that I really, really, really need to try a product again if I don't like it, I'll try it again. Why not? I've paid money for it. What could it hurt to give it another go and maybe try a different method of application? So the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer is in at number 3. So the one I currently use is called Coconut Flakes. And what I did differently to make me really like it is I applied it with my finger instead of the applicator, and I patted it out with a slightly damp beauty blender. A lot of times I will blend out my concealer with either a dry e.l.f. concealer sponge or a brush, but what happened when I applied it that way is that I almost got too much coverage. It was a little bit too thick. Moments ago, I said that when a concealer is thicker, it is more likely to crease. So if you dilute it a little bit by the dampness of the beauty blender, it's actually pretty perfect. It gives me the perfect amount of coverage, no creasing, lasts all day, everything I look for in a concealer. So why isn't it ranked number 1, you ask? Well, that's because I think the 2 remaining concealers are just a little bit better. By the way, this concealer retails for $29 and comes in 29 shades. It contains vitamin E and sweet almond oil. What I don't see in this one is any hyaluronic acid. So if that is important to you, then this is not the concealer that you should choose. I do think this would be an excellent choice for someone who is looking to cover more apparent marks on the face, more noticeable discoloration on the face or blemishes, because it does have that full coverage that is often necessary to truly cover those types of imperfections on the face. So I do want to thank those of you who convinced me to give this concealer another try. In at number 2 is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer. This is one of the newer concealers that I've talked about in 2 videos, I think. I did a first impressions video, and some of you may remember that in the video I had shade 3.5 and I felt like it was a little bit light. So I did a not so smart thing, and instead of actually going to the store and swatching the testers to determine which shade worked better for me, I ordered again online shade 4.5, and honestly, it's not much different than shade 3.5. This concealer comes in 30 shades and retails for $33. This is a medium coverage concealer with a radiant finish. Now, when some people saw my video where I applied this, they were not a fan of the radiant finish of the under eye. It almost looked too glossy to them, and that's fine. To each their own. That's why we have all these options, and that's why I'm giving you this information. So it can hopefully help you make a better purchasing decision, because if you do not like a radiant under eye, this one is not going to be for you. That said, I would think that most of us in our 40s and beyond would really like a more radiant looking under eye. Recently, I went back and looked at some of the reviews of this product, and people mentioned sparkle, that it was sparkly, that when they went outside, their under eyes looked shimmery. What you're seeing here is not shimmer nor glitter. It is just the very creamy, radiant formula of the product. All I see when I use this concealer is a brightened, hydrated, beautifully concealed under eye. I really enjoy the creamy texture of this concealer. This one also has hyaluronic acid. I did get a full day's wear from it. My under eyes looked just as good at 7 p.m. as they did at 8 a.m. So in addition to the hyaluronic acid, this one also contains niacinamide and something called golden vitamin C, which is supposed to be brightening, not just upon application, but continue to improve brightness of the under eye over time. All right, if I had a drum, I would do a little drum roll, but I don't. So in at number 1 is the Kulfi Concealer. I did just talk about this in my monthly beauty favorites and fails, and it continues to be my favorite. The downside of this concealer is it only comes in 12 shades. It retails for $26. This concealer is also vegan and cruelty-free. I use the shade Cocoa Crush, and by the way, at the end of this video, you're going to see swatches of all 5 of these concealers. Now, this claims to be a crease-proof, self-setting, hydrating concealer with a radiant-looking finish and medium coverage, perfect for hiding the look of dark circles, hyperpigmentation, and blemishes. As I've said multiple times in this video, I do not use this on my face or any of these on my face, but it does work so beautifully on my under eyes. It contains amla fruit extract, which supplies an abundance of antioxidants, saffron flower extract hydrates and smooths skin. Rose hip extract locks in hydration. So this one does not have, I thought it did, but it does not have hyaluronic acid, nor does it have niacinamide. So once again, if those ingredients are important to you, then this would not be your number one pick. However, I do find that even without those ingredients, my under eyes still look and feel hydrated and smooth. As for the self-setting, radiant, skin-like finish, I wouldn't say it's entirely self-setting. I do feel like I have to put a light, very light dusting of a little powder just right in through here if I want it to truly stay crease-proof for 10-12 hours. Even though the description of this concealer claims that it has a radiant finish on the under eyes, I do find that the Charlotte Tilbury is a little bit more radiant. So if you've narrowed down your choices to these two concealers and you're still not sure which one to get, that could be one of the deciding factors. Do you like a truly radiant under eye or one that's sort of radiant, not quite as glowy looking, not shimmery, but glowy? And I would do the Kulfi. But if you do prefer a more sort of, I don't know how to describe it, glassy looking appearance, then I would choose the Charlotte Tilbury. This is some footage of Kulfi on one eye and Charlotte Tilbury on the other, and I think you can see what I'm trying to say here. I feel like the Charlotte Tilbury looks much more radiant than the Kulfi. Although overall, I think both my under eyes look pretty good as far as coverage. Here are swatches of all 5 of the concealers. So there you have it. That is my ranking of 5 of the newest concealer releases. Links to all of the concealers will be listed down below in the description box. I really do hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to leave them for me in the comments. I try to get to as many as I can. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do hit that subscribe button and join the Risa Does Makeup family. I do upload new content at least twice per week. You can also find more content from me over on TikTok and Instagram. The username is the same everywhere. It's all Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.